Los Angeles, July 1972. Tuesday morning. The kind of morning that Southern California produces in summer without apology. Heat arriving not as a gradual thing, but as a declaration. The sun already asserting itself before 9 in the way that only a California July sun asserts itself, which is completely and without any interest in easing anyone into the day. The kind of heat that does not build. The kind that is simply already there when you open your eyes. As if it was there before you were, as if it has been waiting. The Olympic Auditorium on Grand Avenue has been standing since 1925. 47 years of sport and spectacle, and the particular organized violence that crowds pay to witness. Boxing matches that made careers and ended them in the same night. Wrestling exhibitions attended by men who understood that what they were watching was theater and came anyway because the theater was good. And this Tuesday morning in July, the building is filling with a different kind of crowd entirely. The kind that martial arts tournaments attract in 1972, which is to say serious people. Practitioners and coaches and the devoted followers of various traditions who come not for entertainment, but for the specific pleasure of watching technique applied under real pressure, which is a different pleasure and requires a different kind of person to appreciate it. By 10 in the morning, the bleachers are 3/4 full. The air carries what it always carries in this building. Old wood, industrial cleaning solution, and the particular electric quality of a space full of people paying attention to the same thing. The junior divisions have been moving through their programs since the doors opened. Lightweight competitors, young bodies executing techniques that are correct in their architecture but not yet fully inhabited. The gap between knowing a thing and being a thing still wide enough to be visible from 20 rows back. Coaches at the floor's edge call corrections. Judges make notes. The morning moves forward with the organized efficiency of an event that has been planned carefully and is proceeding accordingly. In the third row near the center aisle, a man in a dark jacket has been sitting since before the first division began. He arrived alone. No registration number. Not on the program. 31 years old. 5 feet 7 inches. Lean in the specific way of someone whose body has been used as an instrument of precision for so long that it has organized itself around that purpose and retained nothing that does not serve it. He sat down and became still, and the stillness is not the stillness of someone waiting for something to happen. It is the stillness of someone entirely present to what is already happening. The difference between those two things is significant. It is visible to anyone paying the right kind of attention. Most people in the bleachers are not paying that kind of attention. They see a lean Chinese man in a dark jacket sitting quietly in a seat, and they look the way people look at anything that does not immediately demand interpretation. Once, and then away. He is here because he is always learning, not as a philosophy he adopted and chose to carry, as something structural, built into how he processes the world. The conviction that there is always something to observe, something to absorb, something to set against everything already known, has directed every significant decision of his adult life. A martial arts tournament in Los Angeles in July 1972 is a room full of people doing things with their bodies that are worth watching carefully. So he watches carefully, with the quality of attention that reads what it observes rather than simply registering it. The attention of someone who understands that every technique contains, underneath it, the philosophy that produced it, and that understanding the philosophy is the only honest way to understand the technique. He does not take notes. He has no need to. His memory for movement is the memory of someone who has spent 20 years treating every motion he observes as information to be processed and measured against everything he already holds. It is 11:15 when Steven Seagal enters the competition floor. 20 years old, 6 feet 4 inches. 240 pounds of a young man who has been training Aikido since the age of 7, which means 13 years, which means the art is not something he does, but something he has become. He enters with 2 training partners, both smaller, both moving in the particular orbit of someone who occupies more space than others and has long since stopped noticing that this is a condition requiring acknowledgement. It is simply the shape of his life. He is wearing a white GI and a black belt. His blonde hair is thick and slightly disordered from morning training. His face carries the open, confident expression of someone who has not yet been significantly surprised by any room he has entered. Every room he has walked into has accommodated him. This has happened so consistently that it is no longer an observation he makes. It is simply how the world is arranged. The auditorium notices him the way it notices anyone large who moves with confidence. Immediately, and without being able to entirely account for why, the Aikido demonstration is scheduled as an exhibition between the morning and afternoon competitive divisions, a showcase of a style not yet widely known in the Los Angeles martial arts community in 1972. The auditorium watches with the genuine curiosity of practitioners who are always interested in technique they have not encountered before. What follows needs to be said with accuracy, because what happens later does not change what comes before it. Steven Seagal, at 20 years old with 13 years of serious committed training, is demonstrating a sophisticated martial art with the specific fluency of someone who has put in genuine work. The throws are clean. The joint locks are precise. The Aikido principle, that force need not meet force directly, that momentum received can be redirected and turned against itself, is visible in every technique. Not performed for the room, expressed through a body that has absorbed the principle deeply enough to make it movement rather than method. The crowd responds with genuine appreciation. The specific sound practitioners make when they recognize real technique. A different sound from polite applause. Warmer. More particular. In the third row, the man in the dark jacket watches with the same complete attention he has given everything since he sat down. Reading what he watches. What is true in it? What is absent from it? What the technique reveals about the body producing it, and what the body reveals about how completely the philosophy beneath the technique has been absorbed. These streams of information arrive and are processed together, not sequentially, simultaneously. The technique and the conviction underneath the technique, measured against each other, both understood. After the demonstration concludes, Seagal stands at the edge of the competition floor. Several coaches and practitioners have come down from the bleachers to offer what they genuinely mean, which is acknowledgement of real skill in someone who has committed seriously to developing it. He receives this with the easy pleasure of someone accustomed to receiving it. One of his training partners leans toward him and says something quietly. Seagal turns and looks toward the third row. He looks at the man in the dark jacket for a moment, processing, deciding. His expression does not shift dramatically. It simply settles into something that has made up its mind. He walks toward the bleachers with the loose, forward stride that is simply how he moves. The stride of someone who expects the path ahead to be clear and has consistently found that it is. He stops at the railing in front of the third row. Bruce Lee looks up. The physical reality asserts itself the way physical reality does at close range, which is without asking permission and without caring what anyone makes of it. 6 feet 4 above 5 feet 7. 240 pounds of a young martial artist who has just given an impressive demonstration standing above 63 kilograms of a man who arrived in civilian clothes, took a seat, and has been watching quietly for 2 hours. The auditorium is registering this now. The quality of attention in the section around the railing has shifted in the way it always shifts when something unscheduled begins to develop. Seagal says he has heard of Bruce Lee. He says that Bruce Lee is in the movies. He says it with a particular inflection, not hostile, something more layered and less direct than hostility. The kind of statement that carries a set of assumptions inside it without naming them. The assumption that what happens in movies and what happens in real spaces with real people under real pressure are different categories of experience. And the assumption, unstated but present, that the man sitting below him in the dark jacket belongs to one of those categories rather than the other. The people in the adjacent seats are very still. Bruce Lee looks up at him and says he saw the demonstration. He says it was good Aikido. The same even, unhurried tone he uses for everything. No excess in it. No performance. Simply the accurate delivery of what he actually thinks, because that is the only kind of delivery he makes. Seagal receives this the way people receive compliments at 20 when they are confident, which is as confirmation of what they already believed. He says Aikido is the most complete martial art. He says that in a real situation against a real opponent, it is unmatched. He says this with the declarative certainty of someone who has trained seriously and competed seriously and won consistently, and has not yet encountered the specific experience that revises this quality of certainty. Not because the certainty is dishonest, because it has not yet arrived at the edge where it becomes something different. Bruce Lee listens with the quality of attention he gives everything. Complete. He says nothing while Seagal is speaking because he has nothing to add while Seagal is saying it. He does not add things to situations that do not require them. Then Seagal says the thing. He says it with a smile. The easy, generous smile of someone offering something they believe they will not actually be required to honor. The smile of someone who believes the offer is safe because the other person is not in a position to accept it. Stand against me for 30 seconds and I will call you master. He says it looking down at the man in the dark jacket in the third row. Standing above him with the complete physical confidence of a large young man who has just given a demonstration in front of several hundred serious practitioners and is now extending an offer he is certain will be declined. The offer of someone who has decided the outcome before the invitation leaves his mouth. Several rows of the bleachers have gone very quiet. Bruce Lee is quiet for a moment. Not hesitation. The quiet of someone completing a thought before responding. Doing what he always does, which is assess what is actually present before determining what it requires. Then he stands. Not the way people stand when they are preparing for something. The way he stands from any chair. The same economy. The same absence of announcement. And the full geometry of the moment is now visible to the auditorium simultaneously. 5 feet 7 in front of 6 feet 4. Street clothes in front of a white GI and a black belt. Nothing on him that communicates anything except the quality of how he stands, which is completely and without remainder. He looks at Seagal. He says one word. All right. Seagal blinks. That word was not the word he prepared to receive. He expected a different word, or several words that together amounted to a graceful refusal. The word he received is not that word, and the fraction of a second it takes him to close the gap between the expected and the actual is briefly visible before his expression finds its confidence again, and he nods and steps back from the railing. They move to the edge of the competition floor. Information moves through the auditorium the way it moves through any space full of people already paying attention, quickly and without requiring an announcement. Competitors and coaches and spectators orient toward the two figures at the floor's edge. Judges look up from their tables. The tournament organizer, a compact Japanese-American man in a gray suit who has run martial arts events in this city for 15 years, stands from his chair and watches without intervening. He has been in this world long enough to recognize certain moments. He recognizes this one. 500 people hold still. The industrial lights of the Olympic Auditorium hum above the floor. Outside on Grand Avenue, the Tuesday morning continues as Tuesday mornings continue. Entirely indifferent to what is about to happen inside the building it is passing. Seagal takes his stance. The stance of someone who knows what they are doing and is doing it correctly. 13 years of training expressed in the arrangement of a body organized around genuine functional intelligence. Weight distributed. Hands positioned. The architecture of Aikido readiness made automatic through a decade of repetition until the body arrives there without direction. He is large. He is ready. His expression carries the forward-leaning intention of someone who believes he is about to demonstrate something. Bruce Lee stands before him. No stance. Arms relaxed at his sides. Nothing in his posture that corresponds to any starting position the people watching can locate in any system they know. It does not read as readiness. To most of the 500 people watching, it reads as the absence of preparation. A man in street clothes, standing the way people stand when they are waiting for a bus or reading a menu. Nothing declared. Nothing loaded. Nothing arranged. 500 people do not breathe. Seagal moves. He moves the way he has moved for 13 years. With the specific committed force of someone whose size and training have been sufficient in every room he has ever entered and who has no reason, rational or otherwise, to expect they will not be sufficient now. His right arm advances in the opening technique of his Aikido practice, a movement that has worked on every training partner and every opponent for years. A movement his nervous system has traveled 10,000 times and knows not in the mind but in the bone. It is a real technique executed by a real martial artist with genuine force and genuine commitment. It travels toward Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee is not there when it arrives. He has moved left and slightly forward at the same moment. A displacement so small that half of the 500 people watching will later disagree about whether they saw it at all. Not speed in the common meaning of the word. Something more fundamental. The body simply not being at the address the technique was sent to. Stepping offline by exactly the amount the situation requires, and not one fraction more. The technique completes itself through empty air. Seagal's full commitment carries forward into the space where Bruce Lee was and finds nothing. In the fraction of a second that follows, Bruce Lee's right hand moves. One contact, the heel of his palm arriving at the specific point where the larynx sits exposed at the center of the throat. The point that every fighting system protects instinctively because the body understands what is there, even when the mind has not fully articulated it. A calibrated delivery of force at exact placement. Not large, not theatrical, sufficient, precisely and only sufficient. The contact lasts less than a tenth of a second. What it delivers is this: air that will not move. The throat responds the way it responds to that signal, not by choice. The muscles close around the point of contact in the body's automatic effort to protect what is there. And the result is the sudden, total absence of something that has been available every moment of 20 years of life without once requiring thought. Breath. Simply breath. Present always, and then briefly, absolutely not. The legs receive a different message than the one that keeps them upright. The message a body sends when what it requires most has been interrupted. And that message is fall. And he falls. 6 feet 4 and 240 pounds, arriving on the hardwood floor of the Olympic Auditorium in the way that large bodies arrive when they fall completely. Not a stumble. Not a managed descent. A fall. His hands going to his throat. His mouth opening. Air beginning its return, but not yet returned. The auditorium does not make a sound for 4 full seconds. 500 people who have spent their lives in this world, who have witnessed knockouts and throws and submissions, are completely silent. Because what they just watched arrived and completed itself in a duration so brief and with a precision so absolute that the audience is still processing the before while the after is already finished. 7 seconds. From the word, all right, to the floor. Bruce Lee is standing exactly where he was when Seagal fell. His right hand at his side. His expression unchanged from the moment he stood at the railing. Calm. Direct. Carrying nothing that does not belong there. The expression of someone who responded to the situation with exactly what it required and for whom that response is now simply complete. Seagal's breath returns. All at once. He draws it in with the specific quality of someone who has been reminded of something they had never considered being grateful for. He rolls to his side, pushes to his knees, takes another breath, looks up. What is on his face is an expression it has not carried before this morning. Not defeat in any simple sense. Something more precise and more useful than that. The expression of a 20-year-old who walked into the Olympic Auditorium carrying 13 years of serious work and a certainty he had never had reason to question, and who is now getting to his feet, carrying something more valuable than either. The exact location of where what he built ends and something larger begins. A line drawn not in theory, but in hardwood. In 7 seconds. In the specific and clarifying absence of air. He gets to his feet. He stands straight. He looks at Bruce Lee directly. He says, "You are a master." Not completing a bargain. Stating a fact. The flat, unembellished delivery of someone who has just learned something real in the most direct classroom available and is naming it without decoration. Bruce Lee looks at him for a moment. Nods once. Then he turns, walks back to the third row, picks up his dark jacket, puts it on, and walks toward the exit with the same unhurried economy with which he entered. Moving through 500 people who part around him now with a different quality of attention than the crowd that did not notice him when he arrived. Outside, Grand Avenue continues as it was. Steven Seagal stands alone in the center of the competition floor for a long moment. The auditorium is reassembling its noise around the particular silence he is still standing inside. He looks at the square of hardwood that received him. He looks at the door through which Bruce Lee left. He is not thinking about the technique. He is not thinking about the 7 seconds. He is thinking about what lives underneath those things, which is the discovery that certainty, however honestly built, is not a ceiling. It is a floor. And he is standing on one end of a very long distance he did not know was there until he traveled all of it at once. He spent 13 years mastering something real. What he did not know until this Tuesday morning is that mastery is not a destination. It is the moment you become humble enough to understand how much further there is to go. He would spend the rest of his career going. The most dangerous person in any room is not the one who knows the most. It is the one who has already been to the other side of everything you are still certain about.